All right, ladies and gentlemen, YouTube and elsewhere, back at it here with a 50 piece of nuggets from Chick-fil-A for y'all, and a you know, bunch of these hot takes and whatnot. But I don't know. There's not much to be disagreed on at this point. We got a new champion in the league. Oh, here you go, Chris. Just a little bit. Just in time, I would say. What's up, Chris?
Man, you know what it is.
All right, man. Just in time to mess up the intro, but that's all right. I ain't that much anyway, but I said we got these 50-piece nuggets from Chick-fil-A for them. That's what we got. And this is the start of a new day in the NBA. We're coming to you the night after the Bucks have claimed the throne. The first time in 50 years, 71 was the last time that the basketball world revolved around our neighbors to the north, just about 90 minutes away. And we'll talk about living in the shadow of those guys in a little bit, among other things. But I think right now it's just a pretty overall good story. There's nothing really to hate on with this. The Bucks went out and took it. Giannis, more specifically, went out and took it. Really laid claim to his, he and the thing is, he probably wouldn't even argue about him being the best player in the league. I think a couple of series ago, he plainly said that KD was the best player in the league. He didn't have any trouble saying that. But the thing about Giannis is, he knows this. I sort of referenced this on Monday too. This famous, it's becoming famous. His words before Game 5, he's talking about living in the moment and ego and everything like that. He really is the rare NBA star that, by his actions, we see really is living egoless, and he's really, just almost like sort of corny to classify as a big kid, but he really is a guy who has come from nothing. Like we say, brothers come from nothing all the time. He literally came from nothing, worked his ass off, and molded himself into something that is really, not only of the now, but kind of, something that's projecting into the future of the NBA, like something that we've never seen before at certain points. But his fervor, his energy, his willingness to really shut down the opponent at the time when it looked like he had him. Chris, I think you made mention of it on Twitter last night. Like it was very Mike-like, the fact that there wasn't going to be no 7th game in this series. A lot of people wanted to see a 7th game for one reason or another. They were rooting for the Suns or rooting for Chris Paul or just rooting for more basketball. But Giannis said, no, we got this series, man, and we're going to shut it down, and we're going to do it in front of our crazy fans, in Southeast Wisconsin, man. It seemed like everybody within that section of the state was there to celebrate, and it was pretty awesome. Like I said, I was kind of rooting for the Bucks. I wasn't rooting as hard as Chance was, but I have a bit of my heart in Wisconsin, so I feel real good for the people up there who are celebrating, who've waited, most, if not all, of their lives to see a champion up there again, who never got the chance to see Lou Alcindor dominate for them. This has been the next coming, a true legend in the making, and he established himself once and for all last night and in this series. And now the reign is. We'll talk about it again with Brandon with our man Brandon Pope in a few minutes as he comes on. But possibly now the reign of Giannis over the league, but it's definitely the reign of the Bucks right now. They got the title. And what you guys think about that?
It's fantastic.
Exactly.
You got it, Josh.
Nah, you said the words that's gonna come out of my mouth for real. It really is fantastic, and it's such a great thing for the league. Because it fits the ideal new narrative of the NBA, right? From an international perspective, from a global perspective, from a small market perspective, it gives hope to these scenarios and situations that many people have doubted the league can actually excel in. When you talk about the fact that a small market team will have the hardest trouble of getting the talent needed to win championships, or when you talk about keeping that superstar talent in that small market, and you talk about how internationally an international player cannot be the face of the NBA, and things of that sort. Like all these different narratives, this series and this championship alone pretty much debunked all of those narratives and created a new or added to a new trend of where the NBA is going. We talked about how the Toronto Raptors, when Kawhi Leonard won the championship with the Raptors, how the Raptors really helped bring the international component of the league full circle, and how the league itself is trying to expand even more into the international realm and be more of a global brand. Now you have the Greek Freak coming from Greece to America and winning a championship with a small market team that many have said, including me, you may want to go somewhere else to win, because I couldn't trust him as the number one guy to be the Batman for a small market team and a championship team. And he completely flipped that script and took advantage of the opportunity that's given to him. So this is great for the league. And overall, I just hope and wonder if this also sets a new trend now for more loyal guys like a Damian Lillard to actually want to stay with their small market franchises and say, you know what, if the Bucks can do it, we can too. From a loyal superstar perspective, you wonder if that actually increases those chances or those odds in the near future. But overall, it's great for the league and it's great for the NBA, great for the city of Milwaukee, and that franchise as a whole to have this moment. They deserve it.
Chris, I'll let you go on in a second, but just to ride off that, like you mentioned it as a trend, like I don't think it should be a trend either way. Like I think this once and for all should settle the fact or the opinion of that, you know, you have to do it the LeBron way now, the super team way now, where you're almost, you know, putting yourself up for highest bidder at the end of every contract, end of every 4 years or so, or less, depending on how you play it. And this whole way of doing it, this extra, cautious, not this extra calculating way of doing it that LeBron sort of beset upon the league in the past 10 years. You know, I think people begin to think that that's the only way you should go about things if you're a player of elite caliber in the league. And like going back again to like you say, Josh, the decisions that were made in late 2020, you know, some may ridicule them at the moment because they were like, oh, Milwaukee ain't about to win no title, and they do enough to bring talent around them, and you know this and that. You know, we just always it's sort of like the quote that Rudy Tomjanovich made famous: "Never discount the heart of a champion." We just didn't know that heart lied within Giannis yet, and I think he was waiting and he was anticipating the moment to make himself known that he was a champion. And when he got to that point in this series, he proved it. So, you know, again, just to wrap up this quick point, it's not just one way to do things. It's not just a LeBron way to do things. And there's never going to be a player who stays with a team for 20 years again like Kobe did, or for, you know, several championships like Mike did. But you know, you can start off with the team no matter what, you know, mid whatever level they are as a city or as a franchise, you can't start with that team and exude patience and be a true collaborator with your team instead of just being a diva and demanding this and that, and just work and find within yourself that extra thing that allows you to get over the hump. It's not just about, like I say, getting an AAU type all-star squad around you and then riding the wave. It's in the end, if you're a real champion in the league, if you're gonna be a real champion in the NBA, you got to exert something in yourself that you may not even know you have at some point, and show that to the world. And that's what the true champions do in the NBA, in my opinion.
My first things first. To this point forward, Kyle, we got to get his name right. Real G's move in silence like Giannis. We got to get his name right. Giannis Antetokounmpo is an NBA champion, and to kind of jumping off of what you were getting at, not necessarily that I agree with everything there, because there's something more deep in terms of labor and who controls the direction that the league goes.
I'm not saying anything about letting go of freedom for players. I'm all about player freedom and the freedom to move. I'm just saying what we was asking of Giannis, and what we was asking of him was simply to give up on this experiment, or give up on not even. To him, it wasn't an experiment. To him, it was home. He found his home in Milwaukee and with the Bucks, and he wasn't ready. He had no reason to give up on it. And everybody in the world of basketball was like, "No, this is not how you do things. As soon as you hit a wall, you bail out and you make your move. You make that. LA is waiting on you. Brooklyn is waiting on you. Whatever teams is out there, they're waiting on you. Make that move and get your title with such and such and whoever." But he didn't think that way, and that's what I'm saying. He thought in a more classical way, and we can't forget that is a way to win titles as well. That is in a lot of ways the ideal way if you are a player of Giannis's stature. If you are that dude, you should be able to do that on your own. You should be able to do what he did in this series and, like I say, establish yourself as a champion.
Understood. I think the deeper thing is not only from Milwaukee, who somebody posted the photo from last season where the Bucks were in their all-black T-shirts explaining why they wouldn't be playing that day, that Milwaukee already had a champion from that point on, which you can't forget about that. We just can't. But for a city and a team to be overlooked in such a way as the Bucks have been in their past, in favor of Wisconsin's team being the Packers or the University of Wisconsin, whether it's football or basketball, is striking, or hockey even. I know personally some cats that my best friend went to school with at University of Wisconsin up in Madison, and they're Bucks fans. Not all of them are from Milwaukee. Not all of them are even from around the area, Kenosha, Racine, Greenfield, all the towns out in the suburbs out there. But they were true Bucks fans, and some of those guys have been true Bucks fans going back to the Ersan Ilyasova days, Michael Redd, Andrew Bogut days back then. But when you see mainstream mass media depictions of Milwaukee or Wisconsin, the Bucks don't really get talked about that much. When they got Giannis, things changed. When they got Brandon Jennings, things changed. They were on the map, but it was mostly almost as a punchline. That Bucks in 6 was a punchline to everybody but Bucks fans for a long time, because I just now heard about it as this playoffs wore on. And I honestly didn't know until somebody posted the Doctor Strange meme from Avengers and said put Brandon Jennings on it. And I was like, what are y'all even talking about? So not only did he believe when there was no reason to, they did the same thing. And so that lends itself to the narrative of sports in itself. And if you didn't even have that, you have Giannis, who immigrated to Greece with his family at a time where they did not want him there. They did not want his family there. He and his brothers hustled to make it however they could. He and his parents did the same thing. And he wasn't really Greek until he started putting up buckets for the national teams over there. And then they embraced it. And I got this firsthand knowledge from a dude I worked with who was actually Greek. And I couldn't, he had a photo. So I'll take him at his word that he played hoops with Giannis when they were both a lot younger. And he straight up said, it's like, yeah, I mean, he was cool. But like the coaches and then the people who were over there were not messing with him until he started getting, until they saw the potential that he had to elevate their national basketball team. So that in itself makes this one of the best stories of the year. And the fact that that loyalty that he had, not only for his team, but the city around his team, who are of so many different colors and backgrounds. Milwaukee, Kyle, you have more experience. You worked up in Stevens Point, and I think you spent much more time up there than I have. Milwaukee's different. It's not, it's not that Wisconsin you see in a Leinenkugels commercial. It's different. And that was on full display last night. It's hard to put into words after that. It's hard to put into more articulate words, but I think just the fact that when you boil it down, a 59% free throw shooter hit 16 of 17 from the line and put up 50 points in a game that his team, I think, absolutely needed. Not that the Bucks would have lost if they went back to Phoenix, or that Devin Booker would have shot better than he did if they went back to Phoenix. But when you have a chance to close out, at home especially, you take it. And whatever he needed in that moment, once it got down to it, he took it. He wasn't afraid to go to the line. He wasn't afraid to go to the basket. He wasn't afraid to pass out of double and triple teams. He trusted that Chris Middleton and Drew Holiday and our man Bobby Portis would make the right decisions, and they did. And to your point, Kyle, then that's what makes that a great championship in NBA history. Probably one of the best since that 04 Pistons team. That was a team championship. They had a star. They had a supernova star with Giannis, unlike that Pistons team. But this was a team championship, I think, from just about from day one. It was incredible.
So many of the benchmarks of great NBA championship teams where, like I say, the supernova performance, the critical bench performances or role player performances that that one player out of nowhere, Bobby fit that role where he just was all a ball of energy in a lot of ways, but also very skillful and able to execute in some critical plays. It just was so many great things to come out of this series in that game. But let me get our guest on for the night, man. I hassled him to get on. He's one of the busiest brothers in journalism in Chicago, but we very much appreciate our man Brandon Pope from WCIU, doing his thing with Ebony, all types of big interviews, and got pampered out in Vegas. We're gonna talk to him about that. The Big Three pampered him and stuff. I'm like, man, where do you do that? Also, the prayers of the local chapter, Chicago chapter, the NABJ, doing a great job with that as well. Thank you, man, for coming on. Glad to have you on. First time runner.
Hey, happy to be here, man. Always great talking to you, talking to everybody here, and yeah, let's get it cracking, man. I'm finally rested up from Vegas. Pacific time, it can kick you in.
You went up to Milwaukee too last night, didn't you?
Yeah, that too.
Stop moving.
I will say that was my first time ever being. That's my first time ever being in Milwaukee. It was fun, I guess, but it is definitely a lower tier Midwest city. Like, I don't know why people hype up Milwaukee so much. No offense to Milwaukeeans, but
I call it sort of little Chicago. I don't know if you would compare.
Disrespectful to Chicago.
Now, I'm saying in a way that there's sort of certain ways that it's laid out, but just certain things that is offered just a lesser version of what we have here. But
well, yeah, they have the big lake like we do. But I mean, it's like it's such a great value lakefront. It's tacky. You know, I don't know. I don't want to go in on Milwaukee, but I was unimpressed by the city itself. Like Indianapolis is better, Minneapolis is better, Cincinnati.
Oh, wow.
There's so many better cities in the Midwest than Milwaukee.
Indianapolis?
Yes, yes, Indy's better.
I don't know. I would say go back up there for Summerfest. But the tough thing though is that Summerfest isn't where it typically is. But they're trying some things this year. They're gonna Chappelle up there and stuff. So it should be Chappelle gonna be doing the show up there. So I would say try when they really have something going on. Like yesterday was all about the Bucks and everything. I saw you had a couple of videos, folks going wild in the streets. So it was more of a concentrated thing. But like I said, I got love for Milwaukee. Man. I never stayed there, but I've had some nights there and stuff.
Yeah, it's all right. You know, I'm happy for them. I'm very happy for them and wish them the best. But yeah.
But keeping it on the court, man, since you ain't giving them no props as a municipality. You know, what was your observations or your major takeaways from the game and everything?
Man, I mean, the major takeaway was just how physical the Bucks are. This was what I kind of expected out of the Bucks in terms of like when they had the matchup with the Nets, when they had the matchup with all these teams, like you expect them to be the more physical team. They got Giannis there, Drew Holiday on CP3, bullying the guy, like just bullying him. He's bigger, he's stronger. What a pickup that was. And so for it all to coalesce into a championship, I mean, people are going to make their caveats and asterisks about, oh, well, the Nets were injured. Oh, but, you know, the Lakers were injured. Oh, this and that. Everybody was injured. In the end, you got to take advantage of what you got. Winning a championship's not easy. And the way Giannis did it was incredible. 50 points, 50 and 10. Like, wow. Any doubt that people have about Giannis' ability to elevate to that type of level has to be gone at this point. And I was one of those people who was saying, he ain't all that yet, you know. And I still don't think he deserved those 2 MVPs. But he lived up to it in that game. He lived up to it in his finals.
I know your opinion on the MVP as a whole. So that's but see, that's the thing though. You know, not to dive into it because I know you can go a long way with that. But the thing about the MVP is that, you know, it is a regular season award, which I know you don't necessarily accept. But and I agree with you in some ways that it should be at least a precursor, or someone who wins the MVP should be able to play the same way in the games after they get the MVP. And what you got with Giannis in this playoff run, and particularly in this finals, was that proof that, you know, maybe he didn't deserve both, but he deserved at least one. And he deserves his place as a person who can win the MVP, and he deserves his place as one of the top tier guys in the league right now. There's no arguing that.
Totally. And honestly, he was the most valuable player this season. He should have won MVP, to be honest, this season.
Okay.
I have no issue with – he's definitely a top 5 NBA player right now. Like, there's no disputing it at this point, right? It's just that it's always silly to me when, you know, they announce the MVP award, like, toward the middle or end of the playoffs. and the person didn't even make a deep finals run. Like Giannis won an MVP when he was getting backed down by Kawhi Leonard, who is smaller than him, shorter than him. It was laughable that Giannis won the MVP that year when you're getting boxed up by Kawhi Leonard. It didn't make any sense. It was incongruous. Same for like James Harden winning the MVP the year he did. 8 points in the final game. Like, come on, bruh. You're the most valuable player.
That's happened.
Russell Westbrook, when he won, they were an 8 seed. Come on. The truth is, the most valuable player has been Steph, KD, and LeBron throughout that whole entire period.
Yeah. Well, I'm saying, but again, it's a regular season award. I think they should do. I think they should do like the NHL do and have the postseason MVP award as well. They could have a whole postseason MVP award. So you make it separate, and they draw out the announcement. They don't have to wait as long as they do for the announcement. They could announce the award before the playoffs.
That would help.
They draw it out for drama, and it was effective in the '90s when players routinely did at least make the conference finals, and you could have like typically they would probably do it in the second round, but they would have the announcement and the presentation in front of the crowd in your home, in your home stadium before a playoff game. So you could, Jordan could get the award and then drop 40 on the Knicks that night, and then you could be like, oh, okay, that's that dude. He deserved that award. But it's harder when you're like Dirk and you're getting the award at a conference, after you lost to the Warriors in the first round. So yeah, there've definitely been those instances where it's been the postseason hasn't worked. It's been anticlimactic, but like I said, I know I've seen other people come at you as well, Cam Smith and others. Like, it's a regular season award. It's really
all these people that probably tattletailed when the substitute teacher was in and was talking about how you guys have homework. Yeah, we did. That's what it sounds like. Yeah, it's obviously a regular season award. Like, no one's disputing that it's a regular season award. The argument is it shouldn't be. It's silly at this point, and it needs to be reformed.
So you.
That's not good. Nobody's going to do that, though.
Right, and that's what I'm saying. Like, that's not going to happen either.
But it's the only MVP award of all the leagues where you literally will have an MVP who doesn't even do anything in the postseason. Like, you don't see that in the NFL.
There are times it's not always happened though, but there are times where
it happens a lot nowadays.
We're getting hyperbolic.
And the reason why it happens more nowadays is because the awards become more of a media narrative award and not truly an MVP award.
Mike Trout would like a word with you too.
Right, yeah. See, baseball, that's really like you look at baseball, that's probably more ineffective MVPs in baseball than way more
just by circumstance.
Yeah, like A-Rod. Yeah, okay, yeah. Like
baseball.
But
let's get back on board.
It's a constant thing. But hey, Giannis is top 5 elite type of player, and the best part is he's only 26. Meaning, wow, if this man gets a jump shot like a 12-footer or something, he's gonna score 60 a game, 70 a game. Who's gonna stop him? Come on, I can't wait.
And I think that's a big part of his story too. His ability and his willingness to improve on himself, because if he hadn't improved on his game, if he was more stubborn like a Ben Simmons or something, he would not be getting 50 points in a closeout game to win a championship. Some players, it's like I don't know. We should go into this: the hoopers versus ball players that broke on Twitter this week as well. But it's like, there's something extra that's there for guys who, for those ball players who can work with these systems, but they also have something extra. They're not just out there in their olas, just like what's up, let's run one. That's the show. We run one because we don't have much skill, we could just talk. But that's who we are. But if you out there and you trying to be an all-time great, you trying to be an all-time dude, you got to be beyond that. You got to be a little bit more than that.
And notice we're seeing a disparity in the NBA now. I think this has happened over time. As you have the one and dones happening with our American athletes, you have these EuroLeague players and players from overseas who they've been playing basically pro ball since they were 16. Whereas, a guy like Ben Simmons was on LSU, didn't even take his team to the tournament. We may have overinflated him. And he gets to the Sixers, and we expect the same work ethic and drive and mentality when really these guys just built different. Luka, Giannis, Jokic, all these guys just kind of built a little bit different. There's like an edge there, right? And they're going to work. They're going to hustle. And I want our other guys to step up to get to that level. We need Anthony Davis to step up and work out in the offseason and improve. We need Ben Simmons to – there's no reason why we should still be talking about him not having a shot. If he wants to have a shot, he could have it by now.
Chris,
there's I always wonder about this because when you hear about European basketball versus United States basketball, I think the big thing is that they come out of this system born from the Cold War times where coaches were like gods over there. Like you listen to the coach and that was it. And, it's not like over here where the coach from the 60s or maybe the 70s on was the dude making less money than the star player. And so he was at a disadvantage in that respect. I don't think that's the whole thing because you can't teach work ethic. There's got to be something else that goes into it too. Like with Giannis, it's easy to point to, like I said before, you come up as hard as he did and in the environment that he was in where they weren't really messing with him in Greece until he got to be like 6'10", 6'11". That's going to put the iron in your back. With Doncic and Jokic, you could assume that even though they're younger than we are, that they were still coming out of that environment post-Soviet Union. And there's like you're dealing with real stuff on a daily basis. And so that's conjecture, right? Maybe not every guy who comes from Europe is going to go at it hard every single day. But I think that's something that you in that respect, you can't put Ben Simmons in that environment. There's no way to replicate that. It's got to be on him or it's not.
Well, we may have been unfair to Ben Simmons. I think the problem we're having with Ben Simmons is I think he's being pushed into a box that he doesn't want to be in and that he can't be in. It was obvious he couldn't shoot at LSU. It was very obvious, and he still did his thing because he played within the style he plays. If you coach around that style, he could probably be more effective. If you don't expect him to be an offensive type of point guard / forward, everything type of guy. He just needs to develop some post area moves and work on that interior game. Maybe not even try to learn how to shoot, but just focus on being he's already a great defender, right? Just focus on that and the fundamentals of creating offense for that defense. Obviously, that's not superstar type of stuff. That's not top 5 player, top 10 player type of stuff. But it is effective type of stuff. It's the type of thing that if he gets traded to the Blazers, he could elevate there and help that team out, right? It's the type of thing where you can fit in, plug in, and really impact a team. And I just feel like what's happened so far in Philly for him and throughout his career since college is he's been put in this box that he just does not fit into. We expect him to fit into it, and he just can't do it. And,
Josh,
that's unfair to him.
Josh, do you think there's a lesson that could be taken from Giannis where Giannis may still not, for some people, not be the player that they want him to be just because of a stylistic thing? Like, some people may look at guys who are 6'11" or 7 foot nowadays and say, why aren't you Kevin Durant? So people still may want Giannis to have that long range ability, but Giannis has still maximized the elements of his game where he's obviously freakish to steal a term, and he's allowed that to put himself at a championship level, while also, he's not Ben Simmons in the way that Ben is like afraid to shoot, but Giannis is at least willing to shoot at specific times to get certain reactions out of defense. So, I say all that to, like I said, is there a lesson that could be learned with Ben where, I just have to take a little bit more risk on the court while also accentuating the positive, as it were, accentuating the things that make me a special player, that make me a special prospect, and just taking that to new heights. Is that, do you think that could be the case with Ben, or is it just, he got to get the hell out of Philly or something?
A combination. I definitely think it's a combination. I mean, at the end of the day, you are who you are. We've had 4 or 5 years of Ben Simmons playing consistent basketball, and he's demonstrated every year he's not shooting the ball, and he will not look to shoot the ball. That's his skill set. So he's focused on being a primary defender, an elite defender, as well as a facilitator. That's what he's known for, and being able to rebound and be versatile especially on defensive end when you're guarding more than one position, right? That's his skill set. That's who he is. Yes, he can learn from Giannis and expand his horizon a little bit in the way that he can be comfortable, but you have to have a growth mentality as well. And that's something that in this specific scenario, we have not seen. People often say you are the product of your environment, but how do you grow within your own environment? That's really the question you have to consider, because look who he's around. He's around Clutch Sports. What's known within Clutch Sports? LeBron, Anthony Davis. He's around guys that fit some of the narrative that's related to him, but also he's around greatness on a consistent basis. And he's seen the work ethic that LeBron puts in. He's seen what other guys have done to improve their skill sets in their games. So if he's part of this environment where he has that access 24/7, but he's not using it, that shows you that you have to be more than just a product of your environment. You have to be your own product within that environment itself. You have to build on that. He hasn't been able to do that in this situation. So it's unfair to put that title on him when, quite frankly, he's shown who he really is, no matter what you put him in, no matter what situation you put him in. So it's a lesson he can learn, but do I think he's going to actually learn that lesson? No, because he already showed and demonstrated what his true skill sets is, no matter what situation you put him in, and no matter who you put around him.
Okay, I want to. This part of the conversation started off with sort of a sizing up of USA players against other players from other nations. So I want to get into the Olympics in a minute, but I want to get back to the fallout of the finals, and let's go over to the Suns side. I think Josh and Chris, you both picked the Suns before the series. I ain't gonna get on y'all about that, but hey, it's a reasonable pick, and I think most people actually did pick the Suns before the series. And I know they were betting favorite, and they jumped out to a 2-0 lead. Ended up being a rare team that lost a 2-0 lead in the finals, lost 4 straight. What do y'all think? And Brandon, you can jump in on this too. What did you think before the series? Did you think were you more on the Sun side or the Bucks side?
I was on the Sun side. I think, like most people, I was thinking the Suns are going to win. I had the Suns in 7 was my original pick.
Okay.
And obviously that did not.
they couldn't get it back there, But what do you guys think was, looking at the progression of the series, like that game 4, they really had a chance to lock the series down in that game 4, and it sort of hinged on the first of the amazing plays that Giannis made in the series, the block on Aiden, on the live there, and they ended up pulling it out. They tied the series, and that was sort of the beginning of the end there, unfortunately for him. But there was a lot of other things at hand that factored in. Of course, they played Chris Paul differently across the remainder of the series. Definitely hassled them more with Drew Holiday, fronting them so much more intensely over the course of the series. But it seemed like a lot of the team just fell back. that a lot of their reserve guys just fell back over the course of the series, and they didn't get the same sort of special efforts from a campaign or a Mikal Bridges or even a DeAndre Ayton. Like DeAndre Ayton knows first that, especially that first game was beasting, but yesterday he really was lost out there. So in y'all's opinion, what do you think kept the Suns from taking control of the series and getting it?
I think they just got worn down. I think they got worn down because the Bucks were so physical in all facets of the court. You're talking about you expecting Chris Paul and Devin Booker to lead you to the promised land, but they're being guarded by PJ Tucker and Drew Holiday, who are some big physical, versatile guys that have been on. That's pretty much been on them 24/7. That's gonna affect your game plan a little bit, which forces you to rely on those reserves and those other starters to make impacts in which they couldn't produce at the rate they needed to produce. So I think that's really what helped really change the narrative of what this series really could be. Putting that coaching adjustment to having big, tall, tough physical guys and PJ Tucker and Drew Holiday exploit their versatility on the backcourt and forcing the front court to do more than what they've been accustomed to doing, especially when Chris Paul and Devin Booker are struggling. And they couldn't get over that hump. I think that's once that adjustment was made, it's pretty much a wrap for the Bucks moving forward, especially when it comes to Giannis still being Giannis, and Chris Middleton showing up when he needed to show up, and Drew Holiday showing up at the right moments at the later end of that series. So I think it was just they just got worn down to the point where the physicality, the defensive schemes that they were playing against, they just couldn't. It was just too much for them on not just the physical but the mental. You saw how it impacted Chris Paul, how he's having careless turnovers. He's not making the shots he normally would make. Devin Booker, although he came out and killed pretty much 75, 80% of the series, there were moments where he couldn't deliver in key moments either. So, it's just a matter of all those components eventually piling up on each other to where it all came crashing down at once.
Damn. That's real. You said it perfectly. Physicality, great defense by the Bucks. Like it isn't as much what Phoenix did wrong; it's what the Bucks did right. They were, especially that game 6, man. They was on Booker. They was on him, swarming him. It was something to watch.
And Booker was still killing. Like Booker, he not. Oh, you said game 6. I'm thinking about game 5.
Yeah, the series though. Here's what would happen though. This is what really happened for the Suns. They keep the game close. They're going back and forth. And then in those closing moments where you kind of lean on Chris Paul to be that leader, to be that dog, the team would get tight. And that's what happens when you have teams that don't have a lot of postseason experience, championship experience. They were playing smoothly up until the final 3 minutes of the fourth quarter, 4 or 5 minutes of the fourth quarter. And then all of a sudden the Suns get a little sloppy. They start trying to finesse a little bit. They maybe try to do an alley-oop here. That doesn't become an alley-oop, and it becomes a turnover. Or, try to do a little something here and there, and you lose the ball. And those turn into points for the Bucks, and before you know it, the game is out of reach. That just growing pain, I feel like. I think that kind of stuff actually helps the Suns going forward in the future, those younger players like a Devin Booker, like DeAndre Ayton, because I saw the youth and inexperience show up right there in those moments because that Bucks physicality, they kept the same intensity throughout 4 quarters and it never lapsed. Whereas the Suns, they didn't keep that same energy. That's what it really came down to for me.
It's hard to jump the line in the NBA. And, the Suns are a great story. They did a great job in that bubble last year. Went undefeated, the only team to go undefeated in the bubble, but they weren't able to play a playoff game, unfortunately. But they showed so much promise, and they got that that great pickup in Paul. And much like we were talking before you came on, Brandon, about what we were expecting from Milwaukee at the beginning of the year, nobody was really expecting Milwaukee to match what potentially Philly could do or Brooklyn could do once they got their big three together, but they wound up being outlasting everyone in the East. The Suns, the expectations for the Suns were maybe the playoffs. Maybe they would break through now that they got a real point guard in Chris Paul. But they did so much more than that. So they really gotta, I think, feel good about themselves. Like you say, feel good about the future. This is their first real playoff run as a unit. Now, we got some thirstiness coming from LA where they trying to say maybe Chris Paul will finally join LeBron. But, I would like to see Chris return to the Suns and give it one more run with that team and, see what y'all can do. See, maybe he can, honestly, well, he beat LeBron this year. Maybe he could do it again, honestly, and with Davis injury not factoring in, whatever, but let's see them do it again as a unit with Chris Paul and the guy, maybe a little more improvement, as far as their reserves in the backcourt, maybe another a little bit, even though Kaminsky sort of balled a little bit yesterday, they may need a little bit more coming off of the front court rotation more than him.
Yeah.
But
that West is tough, man. That West is real tough. So
it is.
If I'm the Suns, I do everything I can to keep Chris Paul. And if you don't do that, you try. I forgot the contract situation. He's still got a year or two left, right?
He has a player option. And he's scheduled to get about like $44 million.
That's why this is so interesting.
Yeah, that's what I said. He has the player option, so it would be wise if he wants to stay in Phoenix to decline it and restructure his contract so that they can have more money to bring in some more talent.
But if he wants to win a championship, I'm wondering before he retires, are the Phoenix Suns the best place to do that right now, or is LA a place he can go to? Can he go to the Lakers?
Yeah,
who are probably going to get DeMar DeRozan as well. That team's going to reload. You have Chris Paul in there with a healthy LeBron James, who I do not think is done yet, even though the ankle injury. People forgot he was an MVP candidate in the regular season before he got injured. How quickly you forget. We got the recency bias going on from a lot of people. So the King is going to be back. Anthony Davis is the question mark, but you know what? You got DeMar DeRozan in there. You got Chris Paul. I'm at the point you trade Anthony Davis. I don't know what you get for him, but
wow,
he's probably not going to play that much. So figure something out with him. Hey,
I've not heard that. Even from the most critical LA fans, I have not heard that.
Stephen A. Smith would be very proud of you for saying that.
Who would?
Stephen A. Smith.
Oh,
look. He would have been
high on Anthony Davis. I've not been high on him at all his entire career. People kept telling me he's a top 5 NBA player when he was on the Pelicans. And I'm like, where? What have the Pelicans done? And then he comes to the Lakers, and we see that LeBron literally has to motivate Anthony Davis to play well. He'd have a bad game, LeBron gets in his ear, and then the next game he finally steps up. And it'd be a same back and forth roller coaster. He's not self-motivating. And the Lakers got this guy thinking, oh, he's going to be our now and our future. Nah, he's not your future at all because he can't lead this team.
I can see that, but the Lakers don't get anything in the bubble without him. They really don't.
Well, that's true, but Anthony Davis doesn't step up. Like, I'll put it this way: the Lakers would have went farther with just LeBron and no Anthony Davis than with Anthony Davis and no LeBron. If it was just Anthony Davis and no LeBron, they probably wouldn't even made it out the first round because Anthony Davis doesn't have that dog in him. He's not that dude. He's got to have somebody right there to bring that dog out of him, and that's what LeBron does, kind of that mentor, kind of like Chris Paul does for these young cats on Phoenix. But Anthony Davis is not self-motivating. When it comes time for him to step up and be that guy, he's not. He's underwhelming. He's not
I'll say if if they were to acquire Chris Paul and have that three, I think they would need all those three together. I would not acquire Chris Paul and then, deal out Davis. I don't know what you would get for Davis in response for that. So I think the plan I would think for the Lakers would be to formulate that big three. If you get a DeMar DeRozan too, that's a great addition to that. I wouldn't call it a big four, but he would be, definitely a guy who could.
He would help.
Help you out.
Creates his own shot.
Yeah, and that would be a team that could definitely win the West next year. So
hey, look, get Kuzma out of there, get Anthony Davis out of there, make it.
Yeah, I would deal Kuzma.
Package those two, Anthony Davis and Kuzma. Get what you got to get, even if that's Dame. I don't think Dame's leaving, but hey, get what you got to get for Anthony Davis because I'm telling you, the Lakers are not. He's not going to take them anywhere with the way he acted. Even when he's healthy, he's not that good.
That's the thing that really hurts him is the availability, the vulnerability, the injury, and I kind of agree with you that once LeBron officially hangs it up, you don't necessarily want AD to be the only guy you got. You want to have a Dame Lillard or somebody next to him. So
they become the Pelicans real quick.
Yeah. Well,
you know what I would like, and they would need more, but I think would be good. You somehow get Chris Paul to Denver and shift Jamal Murray to the 2, and I think they could do some things. It depends on how Murray comes back, but I did not expect that team to get swept out by the Suns the way they did. Even without Jamal Murray, and Jokic is all world. So Chris Paul at this stage of his career can't be that guy who closes out. And we've seen in the past that Jokic can take over a game at the tail end of it from his position. So having Chris Paul in Denver, assuming that they can build with pieces around those three, I would like that. I don't know how far they would go, but I would like that.
That's interesting. You could put CP3 on just about any of those contending teams out west and be like, we good to go. You can put them on Utah. I think because is
free agent.
Yeah, you're free agent. Swap him with Conley. I mean, and they got he got a banana boat buddy in Utah too with Wade. As an owner, so he could. That could be a competition there between Wade and LeBron. Like, hey, come over to my side. We got a team here that's ready to win right now. So
you got NBA trade machine going in my head right now because now I'm like, okay,
that's some
you can never believe that thing though.
Because now, well, of course not, yeah. But now I'm thinking, okay, so you sign Chris Paul, then you trade Chris Paul to the Blazers for CJ McCollum. Blazers get a really good player, then maybe the Blazers pick up DeMar DeRozan. And all of a sudden, Damian Lillard has a contending little team there in Portland. Who knows? It's not going to happen, but who knows?
I was about to
say. LA in general, they just want a point guard in general. They're willing to take anybody. There's reports going out there that they're willing to get Russ. They're willing to trade to get Russ. They're willing
to. The Lakers?
Yeah.
Oh, God. Russell Westbrook? Oh.
Oh. And and let's not forget about the Clippers too, because the Clippers gonna be in the market for Lonzo. Yeah, so I don't know, like it's gonna be some funny stuff out in the West, man. Those teams are desperate now, and I think especially after what happened this year, they like, man, all hands on deck. The Lakers, Clippers, Portland, Utah, Denver. They all need to be like, look, this is a time to put all those chips in. And
win now.
Yeah, let's get some.
The Nets are coming.
Yeah,
so are the Warriors.
We'll see how it goes. Yep. I want to get to a couple of the special segments that we will do with you, Brandon, before the top of the hour here, man. First off, and this would have been good too. What I got Drew, who I know has seen the movie. But Josh, you seen Space Jam 2, right?
Yep.
Okay, Chris, have you seen it? Are you interested?
I have not watched it yet.
I haven't seen it either yet, but you kind of know what it is. But I think I just wanted to bring Brandon in because I know he's one of the most fervent LeBron backers I know, and he's also a film. I don't know if necessarily a film critic, but you on the scene. You get to watch you get to the screeners and everything, and you interview a lot of filmmakers and stuff. So you're not a person who you have a discerning taste in film, and let's just have it, man. What are your thoughts on the movie? And I guess we'll go into a bit of the discourse around the movie, but overall, just straight up as a movie, what were your thoughts on it? And was this a worthwhile project for LeBron? And at this point in his career.
Well, absolutely, it's a worthwhile project, especially with the box office numbers and the merchandise.
Yeah, that's kind of ignoring that. The money, it brought in a lot of money. So yeah,
brought in a lot of money, took down a Marvel film.
Yeah,
and it wasn't projected to do that, but it did it pretty easily, shattering expectations. And then kids love this. I mean, I got high school students that I teach journalism to who love Space Jam 2.
Okay.
Honestly, it comes down to this. It's a movie. It's a family movie. It's more so for the teens and the younger kids. And, it's supposed to appeal to them with the neon colors and the music and the TikTok and that generation, right? So those of us who are not those of us who aren't of that generation are naturally going to kind of turn our nose up at it. Just like my mom, when she took me to Pokemon, the first movie with Mewtwo, turned her nose up at that because she thought it was terrible, and I thought it was the greatest thing to ever happen to friends. But I was a kid, so I think people got to come into it with the general idea and agreement that this is not going to win an Oscar. Space Jam 1 was not a cinematic masterpiece, objectively.
No, it wasn't. No.
It was literally a flash in the pan, nostalgic cult success. It got panned by critics when it first came out. If you look at that Rotten Tomatoes score, it's still rotten. But we love it. Our generation loved it. And we're the ones that kept it going. And that's what's going to be the defining thing for this new Space Jam. I enjoyed it.
Okay, going back to the first one. The first movie was made essentially because of the pairing of Bugs and Jordan commercially. They were in commercials. And there was the Bugs version of I forget which Jordan sneaker was, but that came out and Chris, you remember it was maybe like the 5?
I think it was the 6.
The 6, okay.
The 6 or the 7.
There was a Bugs Bunny version that came out, and that was hot seller, of course. So, and at the time, the Looney Tunes were sort of in the background. Like it was a changing thing with kids. Cartoons at that time, they were getting more grittier or in your face, and the Looney Tunes were less in vogue at that point. So they put them together with the preeminent athlete of the time, and they made a little silly movie about it. And yeah, we all ate it up. I was 12 when it came out, so I was just on the verge of getting off of that stuff, but it still had my man Mike in it, so I loved it, and the soundtrack and everything. It fed into all this stuff that the mid '90s offered. That that was sort of hard to argue with, even though it was filler. It was filler and fluff. But I think when I read a lot of the reviews for this one, I think a lot of people accept that it's just an updated version of that same formula. But it sort of goes deeper into a lot of ways with the use of overall IP with Warner Brothers, and there's this expanding of the formula that a lot of people weren't necessarily comfortable with, because you having these like references to these other movies and stuff that are over the top. They seem to be over the top or just like bewildering, or like, I don't know. What are your thoughts? I want to get your thoughts on that. Like just having Game of Thrones stuff in it, or the Joker versions of the Joker in it and stuff. Like, what were your thoughts on that? And what do you think that's even if it's like, even if you understand that there's a certain the movie's only gonna have a certain amount of value to it as a artistic statement, that just really exploiting all this Warner Brothers IP is maybe another area where we should like be a little critical about that.
I guess. I mean, that's it. IP is the name of the game nowadays. I mean, it's just the way it is. I enjoyed the references. I thought it was fun. There were some that were kind of weird and off the wall, and I get why people didn't like them or had issue with them. Game of Thrones, is a violent show with sex and gore and incest. They had the Clockwork Orange guys in there, which was a weird choice. That was a weird choice. But the only answer to why they would do that is because they want to appeal to the adults who they know are watching as well, who grew up watching Space Jam and are watching this begrudgingly because their kids want to watch it. Like that's really the only reason, and to show off, to flex the IP, to flex that we're Warner Brothers, and here's all that we got.
Right, watch it on HBO Max after you watch this.
Honestly, I think it's better than what they could have done, which was follow the same exact formula of the original Space Jam and have it only be Looney Tunes. Then you kind of get into like, it's just a copycat. It's like what happened with that new Star Wars film. It felt like The Force Awakens felt like A New Hope. And it felt like just taking the same formula. So this one at least changes that somewhat and gives you a bigger world to play in, a bigger sandbox to play in. There's a scene where Bugs Bunny and LeBron and Daffy are in Metropolis or Gotham or somewhere, and the DC superheroes are involved, and it's a fun thing, right? That's a different sandbox, and it's a fun sandbox to play in. There's one where they're in Casablanca, I think. Like they go around and do some really some things that make you laugh. And as the adults in the room, I was with another person as an adult. We had a good time. We laughed out loud at some things, and then make some jokes in the movie, like the first one did, about basketball, sports references, kind of poking fun at LeBron or poking fun at the title character. I think it's just a thing. You just go in with vibes. You just have a good time with it. I didn't go into it trying to tear it apart.
That's kind of a thing. Like, I remember that Shrek did. That's why Shrek got so much love, is because it was like dually for the kids with being an animated movie. And then there were all the kind of sly in jokes that people got over a certain age. And I remember talking about that, like, Shrek had some hidden gems in it. And when you said it, like, even though I haven't watched the movie, that's exactly what I thought of.
Yeah, the film overall was this is the generational staple. That's pretty much what this was. Space Jam for us. I was born in 94, so when it came out in 96, I still had a chance to watch the first Space Jam in the prime, per se, somewhat in the prime stages. But I'm on the younger side of things as an adult and watch it the way I did. I thought it was a great ideal movie for this upcoming generation to see and be so relatable with. And in a way, it added a new component to LeBron from a legacy perspective, from the creativity side of things. People question whether Jordan can act, Jordan, how well he can do within a movie's perspective. LeBron had some of those question marks too, but he was able to do it in a way that, this was his stamp, his staple. And it was, and like you guys said before, it was relatable for adults with the Game of Thrones concepts. Honestly, that creativity kind of helped make the movie what it was. In my opinion, considering the fact that from a storyline perspective, you talk about following the storyline, how you get the Looney Tunes back together, that's a good way of doing it with the different universes and the different superheroes combined and getting all that back together. Like, it's a good creative way to get the gist of to get the story across in a way that was relatable for not just adults, but not just for kids, but adults as well. And overall, of course, I mean, it's a kids movie, so of course they're gonna look at it in a certain way that we did when we were younger watching Space Jam. But at the end of the day, it accomplished the job it was supposed to accomplish, and it was very well marketed, very well planned, very well promoted. From, not like you said, the merchandise to the ESPN 30 for 30 segments to to all of those things, right? The shop, like they did a heck of a job with this marketing tool, and it fit today's realm as far as the diversity component, having women involved in it. The topics of discussion that were within the film, teaching components of not just basketball but fatherhood, and things of that sort. Like those are life that were in some of it was in Space Jam, but it was really magnified in this movie as well. And you got to tip your hat to LeBron for that, because it's something that's relatable for the generation, even for us. When you talk about future realms of potential fatherhood and things of that sort, it was lessons for everybody, and that's what really stood out to me when I watched this film.
And you got to remember, this generation of kids, it's the Fortnite generation.
Yes,
so they're playing video games more than we did, and they're playing video games that are way different than what we did. And when I think part of the zaniness and goofiness of this new Looney Tunes Space Jam thing fits perfectly into what the Fortnite is, because I don't get Fortnite. and a lot of what this movie felt like Fortnite thrown on the screen, which I know that a lot of kids today love Fortnite. LeBron's in Fortnite now because of the Space Jam. I think all of that's got to be considered as well. There's just some things that parents just don't understand, right? The adults just aren't going to get it. You got to let it go. Just enjoy the jokes that are for you. Don Cheadle does a decent job. He makes some puns. And there's a really good troll job. You know what I'm talking about. I don't want to spoil it, but there's a really good.
I can imagine what it was, but that's sort of kind of what I want to go into. I kind of imagine. I think I know what it is, but I'm not going to say it. But I think I will say I appreciate that LeBron didn't have to do this, because LeBron is a superior actor to Jordan. Jordan didn't have the ambitions to act as LeBron has, but LeBron is definitely a better actor than Jordan is. But I think this sort of thing brings their legacies together, or sort of melds them in a certain way where they both have this franchise that they're a part of, and it's one generation speaking to another generation and all that. But with that said, like I said, with Jordan, it was just a one and none thing. And with LeBron, we've had previous examples of him acting before. Like he's been in movies like Trainwreck and almost stolen the movie. Like
that was funny.
Yeah, he was great in that. And like, what are your thoughts on him going forward? As he's definitely a producer and a guy who's going to be involved with a lot of film and television projects going forward. Do you think he is probably going to be sticking into film and trying to do other types of leading roles in the future?
I don't know about that one. I feel like he's going to stick with behind the scenes TV film projects. I don't think acting is going to. I definitely could see him being in more movies, right? Kind of like Trainwreck, playing an inflated version of himself. That's what Trainwreck was. He's just playing a character, but it's him, right? Mm-hmm. I think I could see that in the future. And we're seeing other athletes do that. I don't know if you guys watch Dave, but Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is in an episode of Dave and does a
Kareem kind of pioneered acting for a lot of football players. Yeah, like going back to Airplane, he didn't play a ball player in Airplane. He's done being with Bruce Lee in Game of Death. Kareem has done a lot of interesting things as an actor.
I could see LeBron kind of doing little specks of things here and there like that. The shop will continue.
Yeah.
But I do think he's going to play for probably 4 or 5 more years. I think his biggest goal is to play in the league while his son is in the league. I do think that is his benchmark. So we'll see how that goes.
And I'm just throwing this out. We'll get to the big three and then wrap up. But if they were going to do, if they didn't want to wait another 20 years for Space Jam, and they wanted to do it with a player who was in the league or maybe upcoming, who would you want to see that with? Like if they did a Space Jam 3 in 5 to 10 years, who would you want to see that?
If they do a Space Jam in 10 years?
Within 10 years.
Oh, Giannis.
I was going to say that.
Yeah. That's kind of the easy answer right now. Yeah.
Luka and Giannis are like the new big two faces of the league to me, which is wild because they're not American-born players, but they are they're in the top 5 or 10 players in the league to me right now. They're going to be that way for the foreseeable future.
They're going to be 2 of the most marketed players in the next 10 years.
Definitely, and they're likable. Luka and Giannis are likable.
Yeah. That's what makes those roles so special, right? Because even in Space Jam, it kind of alluded to Michael's likeness, like his actual fun side in a way, how he's able to portray himself in that movie. It kind of helped shape that narrative too, for what he is actually off the court, So but we already knew LeBron was like that. He just enhanced it even more in this specific film. Like that's part of Giannis's character, his charisma, his funniness, his approachability, and just being down to earth and humble. Like all of those components make not Giannis. That's who he is. Same with Luka. So putting that in a kids movie makes a ton of sense. Now you have to wonder if LeBron's gonna be behind the scenes producing that film, depending on what Spring Hill does.
They probably will, yeah.
So it just it definitely depends, but
and it might be both Giannis and Luka in the same movie.
Yeah, he definitely might do that. I mean, he knows how to get it in there.
Be a Batman versus Superman type thing. They both find out their mother's name is.
Because Warner wanted to do Space Jam 2. They wanted to do this for a long time. They asked Michael Jordan to do Space Jam 2.
Yeah.
And he said no, and they tried to shop it around and do a football version and do a NASCAR version. All these people said no. So maybe this just re-energizes that property for Warner Brothers. They already flexed the IP, and they get Giannis to do it. Or
I'd like to see, since they're doing this multiversal thing, I'd like to see Kyrie get involved and do like a version of the little yellow. What's that? The bus that goes into
Magic School Bus.
Magic School Bus, yeah. With
no
version of Magic School Bus.
Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't have Kyrie teaching kids inaccurate science.
You telling me Uncle Drew's gonna drive a school bus? Like, come on, man.
No, Kyrie doesn't even believe that the Magic School Bus can go to outer space.
No, he gonna have the Koofy on. He gonna be exploring the universe for the kids, showing them all the wonders of the universe.
Man, Uncle Drew's going to get in the school bus and put in a cassette tape and play In Between the Sheets. Like, come on now. Like
he's gonna be in there trying to prove that there is no center of the earth.
Right. He's gonna be like the 5%. It's like everything that exists is within you, God.
Oh, wild.
The one thing I wanted to say about that movie, I'm not sure who you would have star in it. Portlandia had a couple good turns from Damian Lillard and LaMarcus Aldridge.
I've heard about that.
Good reference. Yeah, they did a good job in that.
They had a few episodes with Portland being the way it is. Like the Blazers are royalty out there, and they had a couple good episodes with both those guys in it. But honestly, even though you couldn't build the movie around him necessarily, unless it was specifically marketed towards the European audience, Boban Marjanovic got good reviews from John Wick 3. His English got miles better. He's probably one of the top funniest dudes in the league in general.
Did a great job.
And you got to put him in the movie. He'd be a better Sean Bradley just for his height, but he could also be like the third guy on the marquee, which is wild to think about for a 7'4" guy.
with all these remakes, do y'all remember the movie My Giant with Billy
with
Crystal?
George Mirasan?
Yeah. I don't know who the comic would be, but that's a Boban movie there if you're gonna do a remake. Anyway, let's start to wrap up, man. I know you got things to do, Brandon, and I just want to get you to speak, because this is a basketball show overall, and the big three is something we've gone into and delved into in the past. You had the opportunity to travel out to Vegas to and visit with really see behind the scenes of things going out there. I guess they're playing like in Vegas and New Orleans this year, just two places instead of the wide touring around the country as they have in the first couple of years. But what were your thoughts about the operation out there and how they're coming back post pandemic and everything?
I'm amazed by the league. I want it to be successful. It's extremely competitive. And I came in not a huge fan of the big three, but like after covering it and watching it, yeah, I get it. And talking to these players, I mean, players I grew up watching. Katino Mobley is an amazing dude. Rashard Lewis, I mean, all kinds of guys. Jarrett Jack, and just feeling and hearing their energy and their competition level, watching them leave it on the court, the different quirks and rules, like this 4-point shot and this fireball where you got to go one-on-one ISO with somebody. Like, it's a fun game. And the best part about it's a game that is beyond barriers. You have two outstanding women basketball legends, Lisa Leslie and Nancy Lieberman, who are head coaches for two teams, the last two champions of the league, women's coaches. If anything, it shows to the NBA, what are y'all doing? Why is it taking y'all so long to let women coach in the NBA, to get a woman's head coach in the NBA? Nancy Lieberman, you may remember, was right there with Becky Hammon in terms of like people talk about they could be the first woman NBA coach. I talked to Nancy. She told me that when she was on the Kings, her mom got sick. So she had to make the tough decision to leave the Kings. And when she did that, she really thought she had all this weight on her shoulders. And she thought, wow, I let women down. I let women's basketball down. I just, this moment to shatter a glass ceiling, I've just completely just dropped it because I have to leave the game and take care of my mom. And then Ice Cube and the Big Three called her and gave her this opportunity. And first year she coaches, she wins the chip. And she's running with it. And so a lot of these players and these coaches, this is their second chance. This is their opportunity to prove something, to show something, and they're loving it. And I love watching it. So I love the Big Three. I think the league has a lot of promise. And I just hope that people invest into the product. And, as they tour, once they get to tour around again, when we're out of this pandemic, that's going to help too.
So this is amazing. Somebody put up something on Twitter yesterday about Chris Paul receiving the Big Three championship next year. And they had LeBron saying, when LeBron got his first time, it was like about time. And they said it's gonna be Chris Paul. We receive that.
That's disrespectful to Chris.
That is. I laughed though, man.
That being said, what a great get that'd be for the Big Three.
I mean, look.
That should players in there.
Not be out of the realm of possibility in the future. Like to have players of that kind, and it's not necessarily to chase titles, but just to play ball and continue to show you. Like it's meant something for players like Joe Johnson and others in that league. Rashard Lewis, like it's not a bad way to go. Get you some paper, play keep your profile up as a ball player. And for coaches too, like I say, coaching in opportunities for women and other players who may have been overlooked by the league. I'm definitely pro Big Three. I've been to a couple of the games when they toured here in Chicago, and it's a fun, like you say, Brett. It's a fun time. It's kid friendly, and it's for if you a real hoop head, it's a decent diversion from the NBA. You know, when the NBA, you know, when they finally get back on the regular schedule, the Big Three sort of slides right in there for a couple months in the summer, and you know, it's a way to, you know, see the game in a different way, and like I say, keep up with players who you may have grew up with, came of age with, and you know, it's just fun, you know. So it's good that you were able to see that and come away with that.
Yeah, it was good, man. It was special for sure.
Yeah. So we're gonna start to wrap up here. You know, great show, guys. Really appreciate you. You know, some good conversation as always with definitely with B Pope, who is if you don't know, he's not shy with the opinions. And you know, I guess just coming out of, you know, I guess the last thing I'll touch on, because we sort of went on a little earlier, was the Olympic Games, you know, which are going to start this weekend. I think the first game on Sunday for the men is going to be against France. They got some good news today with Zach LaVine being cleared. He's going to be on the way to Tokyo now, and as well as the players from the finals. You know, a lot has been made of them having to get on get on the same plane, like Booker having to deal with being on the same plane with Middleton and Drew Holiday, you know, who may be in a different mind state than him coming out of the series. But, you know, right quick, you know, what are you guys' thoughts, and what do you think about, you know, what are you projecting for the USA men's team? You know, is this going to be a challenging run for them in these Olympics, or are they going to get it together?
Hell yeah, it's going to be challenging. I don't know if them boys are going to finish higher than third. I honestly don't. And that might sound like a snap decision, but it's just the circumstance. They haven't had a lot of time to play together. The lineups, the roster is shifting. Guys are playing, even if they are out of COVID protocol, they're still not going to be feeling 100%. They might not be feeling 80% having gone through the past season that started late, stretched out, and having come from Orlando. And a lot of other guys, whether they are NBA players who are playing for their countries of representation, or whether they played in Europe or China or Japan or Korea, the Philippines, what have you, they have had more time. They just have had more time. The women's basketball team lost to Australia, and that team is light years better in terms of the competition than the men's team, the U.S. women's team. So they're not going to have an easy time of it either. So I think that the men's team is going to have a dogfight on their hands versus Australia is really the main comp. Spain is a lot older than they were. Argentina is a lot older than they were. They're running Luis Scola out there. But I don't see it happening. I don't see a medal this time. You know what? I'm gonna steal a page from Chuck. I guarantee the U.S. men's basketball team is not winning a medal this year. There it is.
Whoa,
man! We'll get back. We'll keep that in mind. We got that on recording.
We'll
keep that in mind. But Brandon's got to step away real quick. We're gonna finish up this Olympic talk. But thank you again, brother, for coming on. There's the tag down there, BPO TV. Anything quick you want to pitch or let people know that you got coming down the pipe?
Check out CW26Chicago.com for the Chicago Sky Beyond the Court special.
Yeah, shout out to you on that too, man.
Very well done.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Tune into WCIU for Real Chicagoans, a new show we're launching. And keep it locked to my IG for interviews and content and laughs and Kanye memes, because we're going to see how that album is on Friday.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah,
I'll see you guys later, y'all.
All right, man. We'll come together as a family for that Kanye album, and I don't know.
There's a lot. There's going to be a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot to talk about.
But thank you, brother.
I'll see y'all.
All right, man. Have a good one. All right. Well, it got me in another state of mind now with the Kanye, but that I guess some of that little music premiered too during the broadcast yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. Let's not derail ourselves. We coming close to the end here. But Josh, following up on Chris. Chris say guarantees no medal, man. Are you feeling the same way?
I wouldn't go that far. But Chris is right. It is tougher. This is going to be a tougher road to get to any type of medal this year. From COVID to players leaving the finals to go into Tokyo right away, and and these players not having enough time to really gel and get together. But on top of that, let's not neglect the fact that international basketball has improved over the years, and this year, has been proven that the talent and competitive level of these foreign teams is real. They've improved. They've gotten better, and the EuroLeague is better over time. So you have to give credit to where it's due with those, as well as the fact that Team USA just doesn't have the ideal circumstances right now to where you can't guarantee them gold, and you may not even guarantee them silver. But at the end of the day, they think they have the talent. Can they eventually put it all together over time to a point where they can at least survive these tough rounds and eventually get themselves in the medal rounds? We'll see. And I think they have a chance to do that, but it's going to be tough. And it's not going to be just on their end. It's going to be on the competition and it's in the improvement of the competition overall.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't have much on the prognostication side for these guys, but it's hard for me to think that they can't get anything. Even that very not well thought out, put together team in 2004 got a bronze, and they weren't, like I said, they weren't put together well. They weren't coached well. I think with Popovich, you're at least going to be coached well. And the issue though probably is this team and what they have to offer talent wise and matchup wise with some of the better teams that are going to be in the tournament. I would think they would at least get a medal, but the days of bullying Angola are over and 60, 70 point wins. Those days are over, man. So we'll see how they deal with it, and maybe it'll help steal. Like it was real cool to see Zach LaVine, asserting himself in those last couple of exhibition games, and maybe he'll have it within him to elevate his game and show some more of his game in the tournament in Tokyo. I'm kind of more interested to see, in the absence of a complete disaster, just how these individuals are going to mesh with each other and what type of ball they're going to offer as a unit, but also as individuals, and who's going to show what. So I'm hoping for the best, but I'm guarding against the worst. But it's an Olympics they maybe shouldn't even be having. So we could probably erase it soon as we get as soon as they get back to America. It's just something they had to do just to show up. And if they don't get the gold, there's going to be a redeemed team. There's never going to be a redeemed team in 24 to clean up the mess. So that's what it's going to be. But that's going to be it for now, man. This is our recap here for finals recap, and went into some other fun places with our man Brandon Pope, Chris and Josh. Glad for you guys to stop in and make some time for the show. We coming to the end of the season, man. This has been a wild season, and you guys, it's been fun sort of recapping it and observing it with you guys. So we just gonna keep on moving with the show. Probably do a couple shows next week. Monday, I know we're gonna have another guest. Brandon actually hooked me up with him guy Aaron Johannes from the Oregon is a rising journalist out there, but he's a Milwaukee native, and he's going to be speaking on observing his, seeing in person his Bucks win for the first time in his life, and we was talking to him about coming on, and I didn't say at first that we was going to do the show next week, so he was thinking I was just like, when are you available? He was like, well, Thursday may be difficult because of the parade, so he's going to be at the parade too, so. He's gonna be all in the mix there in his hometown, and we're gonna have him on for a Monday show. I'm looking to set up, but after that too, I don't know if we're gonna do like maybe a preview of the draft on Wednesday, or maybe just do like a watch party or something. The Bulls ain't in it, so it's not as much of an emotional investment, with the draft this year, but it's still going to be pretty interesting, giving, some of the stuff up top that could be happening. Again, Josh has written about some of that for our Substack page. Maybe some trades may come off that can work in the Bulls' favor eventually, sort of freeing up Lonzo Ball to come up here. So we'll see how that goes, but it's a lot of interesting stuff going on with the draft in general. We're gonna be keeping up with that as well next week. But I'm looking forward to a couple of weeks off though. So I think after next week that's gonna be the case. So, but in the meantime, we just gonna keep rocking and keep it bouncing. And you guys got anything else that's interesting in your head and you want to let off any before we head out?
That's a good question. Man, we're all happy for Bobby Portis.
Bobby.
I think I could spoke more about Bobby, man.
Bobby.
That's nothing.
I saw one dude
made too the day, Josh. Off of your meeting him a couple of years ago.
No, that's for sure. Because I think Josh, you said it. Gabe said it. I think Drew had something about it too, which got me a little upset. There's a guy who I know who I interacted with on the Chicago Sky, Sharon Shabazz, who was basically like, I don't know what the big deal is with Bobby. Like he was kind of mid over here, and I was like, listen, man, the dude. There are guys who are not stars. I didn't say this in this many words, but I was like, he had heart, and we liked him. That was it. Bobby was always out somewhere. People saw him out on the streets.
Yeah.
Who was it? Somebody, I think Mark Spears asked, did he have this much personality?
Yep.
And Casey Johnson of all people was like, yeah, it just wasn't on display as much, or it wasn't as publicized.
Yeah, so he was playing for bad teams, so he wasn't
exactly
right.
But no, what we saw last night out of Bobby Portis was only a surprise because it was a closeout, the elimination game of the finals, but Bobby Portis knew this. I think his teammates knew this. Nico Mirotich's jaw knew this was possible. We all knew that Bobby Portis was capable of what he did. A couple of those fouls weren't even fouls, man. So big ups to Bopo, big ups to Arkansas for getting that ring, and and come through the crib, come out to 63rd Street Beach, Bobby. We got you. We're gonna hook you up.
Bobby know he got love here in Chicago, man.
Yes,
so
sir.
That'd be good. I hope he could come through, come to another Sky game or something. Feel free to stun a little bit, man. He should drive by the United Center a little bit and show off his jewelry. Make him want it a little more over there.
Yeah.
But go ahead, Josh.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure Bob's gonna come around. He even told me, he said he loves Chicago. Chicago's his second home. He's here all the time. So I won't be surprised if we see him out in these streets again this offseason, step with a little bit of a additional chip on his shoulder, considering that he's now a champion. But but just overall, like, Cam, you let me down, bro. I had faith in you. It's okay though. It's okay, Cam.
He's still learning, man.
He's still learning. So one day, Campaign will have the champagne. One day he will. So
he's gonna be popular sometime.
Right. we'll figure that out for sure. But I mean, just because basketball's basketball, right? Yeah, we're gonna take a couple weeks off, have a hiatus, and all that stuff. But you still got draft, you still got free agency, you still got trade and rumors and buzz and all kinds of stuff taking place.
Oh, and something really cool that's coming up here, the Dreamville Nike Pro-Am.
Yes.
We may be involved in that in some bits. So I got a connection. That's all I'm gonna say about that. But that's. If you go back to the Nike Pro-Ams from a few years ago, they was having them over at Whitney Young, and I got in a few of those, and I really give Nike a lot of credit for expanding the game here in Chicago and showing love to the communities and stuff. They really do appreciate, for no other reason than marketing purposes. They do want to get on the ground here in Chicago and show love to the people, and keeping it up, after post pandemic, and still keeping it up with this Dreamville thing, which I want to learn more about Dreamville's involvement in it too. It's kind of interesting to me too. Which I know they got one rapper from Chicago in their crew, but it's not much of a Chicago connection otherwise. But hey. We may see Cole around. Cole, he ain't playing with the Africans no more. He may be hooping here in Chicago a little bit this summer. So who knows? It's still a lot of fun to be had this summer, and we will be part of it in some way and somehow. So that's what we're giving you here on Runnin with WARR. And the guys, of course, you follow their adventures on their tags. Joshua M. Hicks Media and Quandary Kitten. And you can even follow me at Means Matters on Twitter, K-Mean on IG. And we just gonna keep it going and keep it moving. And socks are tied up right now. I'm sure
yes, sir.
Chris.
You see me in the background.
So we're gonna check out the rest of that game, and that's it for now though. Like I say, next Monday we'll be back on there for sure. And maybe do a little draft thing after that. But for now, keep it. Keep a hold of your dreams. Don't give up. Giannis is showing you the way.
John, I gotta get you on. It's gonna take some practice.
But I was saying we got another example of what it means to believe in yourself and not give up. And you definitely appreciate that. That's one of the greatest things about the NBA and sports. You get these new examples of excellence and ambition. And some of them are purer than others. Some of them are more full of heart than others. And I think this one is very much on that positive side. There's no holes in the Giannis story right now. So hopefully that'll remain the case going forward. But just leave it at that. Hope like I say, enjoy the opening of the Olympics. Hopefully that'll be some spirit and positivity that go along with that, and people won't be getting too sick over there and whatnot. But we'll be back Monday. In the meantime, keep it bouncing.